I'm Natalie D'Adamio. I'm an interdisciplinary artist focused on the abstract, expressive, emotional, raw, energetic. I'm here to bridge the abstraction with the spiritual and shamanic and energetic, the soulful. I can't really take the artist out of the art. I tried. Over the last few decades, I've really come into this understanding for myself that it just has to be what it is for me. And of course, there's many fears and blocks and doubts and worries to work through. But every time you move through something, you gain a deeper understanding and an embodiment within yourself. And I'm here on this channel. That's what I'm here to speak into and help you open up to all sides and all kinds of ways with the creative expression, art making, and even the way we're thinking and deepening into being, so we can be more free, not just in art, but living. And I'm just gonna, because I've been out of practice myself here and taking some time and space to integrate my solo show, Beautiful Mistake, that happened last May. I'll put a link there if you want to check out some of that if you're new here. But I'm also getting ready to work on my second solo show. It's coming up in November of this year. But I've been kind of working behind the scenes privately, and there's just a lot of things churning and burning and turning. So we're learning to be with it all, right? That's what it really is about. This art making, this creative process, expressing all sides. Learning to face ourselves in the process of it all. Really important. So in relation to facing ourselves in the process, when we move into this expressive, emotive mark making, we just really want to open up more of the internal doors. It's not always about this linear progression of what it is. It's more about the unfolding from the internal, making that external, and allowing more in the process. So that's what I'll be doing here. I'm just getting back into my own practice and process, but it's been decades now in relation to going through all these things. One thing I have to say is it's always changing, right? We can think about the impermanence of life, and art definitely has that impermanence, because you can't do what you did 5 years ago, or what you're going to do 5 years from now. So it's staying present in the moment with what it is. But if you've been in your art practice and art process and just life long enough, and you've been working towards certain things and growing through it all, then you'll see your own pattern emerge eventually, and you'll get stronger and more resilient from it. It doesn't mean that the doubt and the worry and the fear just disappears, because every time you go to raise into the next evolution and revolution of the self and the creative process and the art practice, you're going to be faced with things. That's why I teach a lot about facing ourselves and what that means, because it's not always pretty and in art and living, and those lows can sometimes really be low. But when we learn to integrate and really look at that and understand that it's part of the process, then we don't have to deny any aspect of the self, and that frees us up to open up to more internal feeling states. That's awesome, because that emotionality is really going to drive this expressive, raw, abstract, experimental mark making, or even thinking. Really, you're not going to be as afraid. You're going to face the fears and just move into more of who you are and what you want to express. And this I could say for certain, because I've been doing it for years. And that's what you're seeing here, kind of a culmination and Beautiful Mistake. If you look at that show and some of the videos on here, and even look through the artist talk, you'll hear my story and you'll see my journey. And, I can't fake that. Not that some parts of it am I proud of, But, you know, I'm not trying to like brag about it. What I'm trying to say is like I've lived through the experiences in order to be here now and then speak into all these points. And life has gifted me, you know, that ability to see more clearly. But of course, I still make mistakes. Hence, that's why it was called Beautiful Mistake, in the sense of, are we going to always like beat ourselves up for when it is hard? We really want to keep moving through. Of course, sometimes the low is going to maybe require more space and time away from something until we heal like what that was. So art making and creativity in that regard is great for like reconnecting and integrating and becoming more familiar with those internal feeling states. That's just the process alone, but when we want to turn it into a product, you know, there's a lot of different elements that get involved with that. So it's always about like towing the line, process versus product, and what does it really mean for you, the individual artist and creative, to show up to that moment, to free yourself with all of it. And that is a lifelong quest, folks, you know. So if you're being hard on yourself, just try to be more gentle and realize there's this unfolding that we're opening up to through you know, time and space. And sometimes it does come quickly, but you know, sometimes there is just something to giving something time and learning to see what it is in the process of it all. So you never know what's around the corner or what's gonna spark you and reignite or ignite you, and you never know how much you just have to move through until you're like starting to move through it. And that's really what can happen in art and creativity and just living, right? But we can always show up again and always return to the moment, and just one day and one mark and one moment at a time. And you just have to keep making your way through it. That's the only way. So just keep going and keep creating, you know, from the inside out. Because when we like look inside and we like dare to face it in that moment, that's where we like finally can see maybe what's been in the way or what we need to like really just be honest with, which can be hard. It can be hard in artworks too. Like if you just want to say, this is my honest expression, but sometimes the fear can rise. Or in life, I just want to do that thing, but then all the stuff rises. So when it rises, we need to like turn and like sit with it, open up to it more, and kind of give it space to breathe and flow and float and like move into another form. And that's why art and creativity are so important.